Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Hey, we made it through another week, the last full week of the year, because next week is Christmas week. And so Friday will be Christmas week. So it'll be kind of a little bit of a weird week. And then the last week will be a little bit of a weird week with New Year's coming up. So anyway, the last full work week of 2020. So we are winding down. What a wild year it's been for everybody. So anyway, today is Friday, December 18th, and today is show number 93. Man, we're gonna just try to sneak right up to show 100, by the end of the year. So we're going to make it. We're going to make it. All right. So today I've got a great guest. Allan Knight will be joining us. Allan is one of the newest co-creators joining the Spirituality Gone Wild team. But Allan comes from a very different perspective than some of the other people that we have on our show. He lived as a monk for 9 years, and that whole experience, and then he came back out into the world, and he's been living in the world ever since. And he's written a couple of books, and he brings an Eastern philosophy to it. So I'm excited to have that conversation. Allan will be joining us at about 15 past the hour. Alrighty. And then I'm going to do my life lessons today. And I was thinking, what could I do? I didn't have any Eastern philosophical things that hit me right off the top. And anyway, I decided I'm going to redo the 3 life lessons from the movie. I've been talking about that from the beginning of this show. That is, of course, part of my teaching and brand and philosophy, the 3 life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. And so I'll go through that, and I'm going to bring a little more law of attraction into the conversation this morning with that. So that'll be coming up right in a minute after I finish the morning announcements. All right, let's go ahead and let you know what's going to happen next week. I think I'm going to either do 3 or 4 shows next week. I got 3 guests lined up for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'll probably take off either Christmas Eve or the Monday after. I haven't quite decided that yet. So I might do a show on Christmas Eve. Probably not going to do a show on Christmas Day, and I'm not going to do a show on New Year's Day. So anyway, we'll figure that out. But here's what's happening on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Monday, Joe Lair joins us. Joe is a friend of mine from Montana. Met him a good 10 years ago. And Joe has a story called Front Yard, Backyard. And he wrote the story. He gave it to his father, who was a professional speaker. And his father used the story quite successfully for many, many years. And his father has since passed on, and Joe continues to share the story. So he's going to share Front Yard, Backyard with us. And specifically, it's a direct connection to my life and a big change I made in my life 4 years ago. And that story influenced me greatly. So that'll be Monday's show. On Tuesday, Shaman Isabella returns. We started the conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you got to come back. We haven't even scratched the surface of everything. So Shaman Isabella will returning on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Nikki Roscoe comes back to the American Gumption Show one more time. And it'll be kind of a Christmas edition. We're going to wrap up all the things we've talked about in the previous shows with Nikki. She comes to us from the UK. So that's coming up on Wednesday. All righty. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into today's monologue. And I said it's going to be the 3 life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. And so we all know what they are. Let's see if I can get my screen. I'm going to do a quick screen share. There we go. I think there it is. Yeah. So the 3 life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. And let me change my background. That's a little distracting. I got one more thing to test here. There we go. Let's see. That should do it. There's the blue background. All righty. So thank you for being patient as I still need a producer to run all these behind the scenes things and make the show run a little bit smoother, but we're doing a pretty good job. Hey, we're doing a pretty good job. We've figured out how to mostly operate this stuff, but and sometimes a little bit of technical difficulties, but hey, no complaints. It's all working great. Alrighty, so the three change-making principles from the movie Forrest Gump. The first one is that feather that comes out. Let me grab my props back here. Yeah, the feather lands at the foot of Forrest Gump, and that is, whoops, where am I at here? Here we go. The feather lands at the foot of Forrest Gump, and he reaches down and pick it up. And the feather represents the opportunities that come into our life. And the movie is really all about a man's story. Like, it could be any person's story. It could be a man or a woman, but feathers, opportunities keep coming in and landing at our feet. And what did Forrest Gump do? He reached down and he picked it up. And the key thing there is that these things show up, these opportunities show up, and our job is to reach down and pick them up. And principle number 2, again, I'm going to reach behind me here, is the chocolate box. Life is like a box of chocolates. Principle number 2 is the chocolate box, and that is really about the choices that we make. And the movie Forrest Gump, his mama said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And really, I'm going to put a spin on that. I'm going to get into deeper detail of the feather of the chocolate box, but I'm just kind of laying it out. Okay, number 2, the chocolate box, and it's the choices that we make. You get to reach in and you get to pick out a chocolate. Now, you do not know what the flavor is going to be, so you don't have complete control over, once you make the choice, everything that's going to happen, what the flavor is going to be, but you certainly do get the choice of picking it out. All right. And then principle number 3 is represented by the shoe, the Forrest Gump Nike shoe, and that represents the journey of life. And I'm going to throw up a slightly different graphic, and there is the Forrest Gump life journey. And you can see he starts out in the lower left corner as a boy, and then progresses through his life, goes to high school, college, plays football, joins the army. He's a soldier and ping pong player, shrimp boat captain after his army days. And then he retires and takes a run across America. So I'll go through that timeline just a little bit more, but it's about really the fact that life is just one continuous journey, and we just go from life chapter to life chapter to life chapter. Alrighty, so now let's go back and review all 3 in just a little tiny bit more detail. So again, that feather comes out of the sky and lands at the foot of Forrest Gump. And this is how the movie begins. And we just see Forrest's hand reaching down into the camera lens, and he's reaching down and he picks it up and he brings it up and he looks at it. And it's powerful because it represents the randomness of the way opportunities seemingly come and join into our life. And yet, I've been talking a lot about the law of attraction, and I begin to think, do we really have all these opportunities randomly show up, or are we really thinking these things into our lives and having them appear magically in front of us from our thoughts? Now, if you've been listening the last few months, and as I talked about law of attraction, you know where we're going with this. We're saying, hey, no, these feathers, there's no coincidence. They're like actually coming in. We're kind of willing them into our lives. The opportunities that come into our lives are really willed in by our thoughts, by the things we think about on a regular, ongoing basis. And so but you have to take action, and you have to reach down and pick up these opportunities, just like Forrest Gump reached down and picked it up. And so what looks like it's completely random in one way of thinking becomes a different reality when you start to think, well, wait a minute, my thoughts, law of attraction, my thoughts and thinking become things. I will them into my life. It's like the example, you go out and you buy a car, a Volkswagen Jetta, and then suddenly you see Volkswagen Jettas everywhere, and you never really noticed them before. And so when things become into our consciousness And when we pay attention to them, suddenly they appear. So maybe the feather, maybe the opportunities that come into our life are really those things that we think about. And whether they're positive or negative makes a big difference on what types of feathers, what types of opportunities show up for us. All righty, so that'll be it for the feather. Now the chocolate box. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Pretty darn good, memorable line from the movie, and perfect, or seemingly perfect, for his mother to say that to him. Here he is, a young boy. He's disappointed by, something happens, and she's saying, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. She's trying to teach him not to be disappointed with the things that do not happen or come into his life. Maybe it was after he's being bullied. He's got the braces on his leg. He looks different than other kids, and they call him dummy, and they throw rocks at his head, and here's this a young 5-year-old boy or whatever, and he's already taking battle scars in the world of life. And so his mother, doing the best she could, said, hey, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Maybe it would have been better for her to take a slightly different approach. And maybe it would have been better for Mama to say, hey, Forrest, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what's inside the chocolate. But here's the thing, Forrest, you get to choose whatever chocolate you want. You have the power to choose whatever chocolate you want. Now, what that flavor is inside, you're not sure. So you're going to be surprised by it. But hey, all chocolates are good, and we're gonna be happy with whatever the choice is. We're just going to be surprised by it. So the life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Kind of has a victim mentality. We're powerless. There's outside forces that are controlling or dictating what kind of a life we end up living. And if we get something we like, we're happy. And if we get something we don't like, we're sad. So we're being influenced by these outside forces. And Mama Gump's teaching to Forrest was really just kind of that idea that, hey, we're powerless here against the big bad life world. If we don't know what we're going to get whenever we make a choice. Well, that's certainly one way of looking at it. But if we're thinking of the law of attraction, then life could be very, very different. Life could be a lot more like we actually draw things into us. Now, this is Mama Gump was not aware of the law of attraction. She didn't have the know-how and the skills to teach her young son that. But what about in today's world? What are we teaching our kids, and what are we teaching ourselves? And here I am, a 60-year-old man, and I'm relearning all this stuff for the first time. Not relearning it for the first time. I've been on this journey for 10 years, relearning these things. But yeah, it's all kind of like brand new, and it's suddenly a lot more of the. I don't know here it is. A lot more of these attractive feathers seems to be showing up as a result of changing what it is that I'm putting my attention to and looking for. All righty. So then so really the chocolate box, the choices, and the feather, the opportunities, very, very, very closely connected. Almost like a right hand and a left hand, as far as the connection between the opportunities that appear before us and the choices that we end up making. All right, now number 3 is the journey of life. Let me put up this other graphic here, and again, that's the shoe. That's the shoe that we have here. So life. What do we have? We have life chapters. He's a boy. He's a college football player. He goes into the Army. He's a shrimp boat captain. All separate life chapters. We have transition moments where suddenly one chapter ends and a new chapter begins. Now, it's the movies. The movies is not real life. The movie does not show all of the details that are involved in transitioning from one to the other. We just see the end of one chapter in a scene, and we see the beginning of the next chapter in the scene. And it's an effortless transition for Forrest Gump to move from one thing to the next. So it makes me wonder and ask, is it possible for us to live our lives that way, where we can more effortlessly move from one idea, one chapter to the next? And I'm working on that. I believe it's possible. I'm trying to develop that whole mindset, and that allows me to just say, okay, this chapter is no longer relevant. I'm going to move on from it, and I'm going to move into the next one. It's really comes down to being present, and Forrest Gump was brilliant at that. He was always just singularly focused on whatever it was he was doing. When he was playing football in college, he wasn't worrying anymore about the fact that the kids threw rocks at him in high school. He was just doing what he did, playing football, learning how to play the game, being present, being a student of learning new things and just having fun with it. And then same thing when he went into the army. He was a soldier. He was a good soldier. They said he said it's very simple. All you have to do is exactly what the drill sergeant tells you. And so Forrest was going through that early chapters of his life where he was just learning and taking in, and much the way we do when we go into our careers, where we have our first job. We don't have the skills to really excel in it. And so we end up having to be kind of students that listen and just do what we're told to do. And then little by little, we understand what we're supposed to do. And then we bring our own creativity and energy and learning and knowledge and know-how into the job and excel at it. And then as you get more advanced in it, your career and your life, you can make different decisions that really you self-actualize and take over. Now, Forrest Gump, all through his Army career, was really just that, doing exactly what he was told. When he became a shrimp boat captain, he entered into his entrepreneurial life, and then that's when he started to he make a choice. He said, well, what am I going to do next? He wasn't sure, so he went and he bought the shrimp boat. It wasn't his dream, it was Bubba's dream, but he had made a commitment to follow through on it. And in a sense, it became his dream after Bubba ended up being killed in battle. And so Bubba was gone, and Forrest picked it up and carried it on as his own. And then the rest of the movie, Forrest, you saw him in more of a role of making decisions about his life and being more forceful. And that's really kind of the natural progression for it. As we're kids, and then our early 20s, our young adulthood, we're just sort of following along. Whatever opportunities, whatever choices land in front of us, we just pick them up and grab them and run with them. But after a while, we become more skilled and we say, no, I don't want those choices. I want other choices. All righty. So that's it. I'm going to wrap up that segment of my portion of the show, and I see our guest is in the green room and ready to go. So let me just make a change here, and let's stop that sharing. Let's go ahead and welcome Allan Knight to the American Gumption Morning Show. Let's see. Oh, there it is. I forgot that. Allan, I'm still learning how to hit the buttons here. It's like life is like a box of chocolate. You keep learning as you go along. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show, Allan.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for offering me this feather that you've landed in my lap this morning, and the opportunity to talk with you. So it's great.
Well, good. And it's an opportunity for me too. So it's, because I'm going to get a chance to learn, and we've gotten to know each other a little bit, but I'm excited to dig into who Allan Knight is and what you're all about, because you've got a pretty interesting story. Now, Allan, we have two rules here. Well, two rules as we start the show. And rule number one is I like to read a little intro or bio that I prepared for the guest. So, and then we have what we call the first time guest theme song. So anytime a guest appears for the first time, we play the song. But if the guest comes back again, we can't play the song. So those are the rules of this game. Are you willing to go along with this criteria?
I'm with you. Yes.
All righty.
Absolutely.
Well, let me tell people who you are. This will just take a minute or so. So Allan Knight is an author, coach, trainer, and speaker. Allan is also a former Zen monk who has turned his Eastern philosophical wisdom into a practical 9-step formula. The KNIGHTLIFE Training program will help you create and live the extraordinary life you've always dreamed of. We all like to live an extraordinary life. I love that. His Zen Zone mindset is a guide to self-mastery and gives individuals the tools and techniques you can use right now to achieve a calm mind, self-confidence, and heart-centered relationships. I love that. Calm mind, self-confidence, and then a heart-centered relationships. That's really what we're all striving for that. Allan is also the author of the book, Mind Gone Wild, Finding Freedom Within the Chaos. His book will help you with your business, your soulmate relationship, and your relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. Allan has recently joined the team of co-creators at Spirituality Gone Wild, and his teachings and ideas will be shared in Spirituality Gone Wild's premier members group, the Untamed Club, and on his upcoming future show. So Allan Knight, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. It's an honor and pleasure to have you here. Now,
thank you so much, Steve. I just one thing. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that with a couple of weeks, I'll be finished my second refurbished book called The Soulmate Revolution, because one of my dreams was always to launch the Soulmate Revolution, which I'll tell you about maybe later in the show.
Yeah, I like this idea of soulmate, because we have different types of relationships. Soulmate relationships, they're like kind of like they have a special place that we put them on. So now let's play the song and then we'll get into all of it. How's that sound?
Absolutely. Wow.
Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a broadcast before?
No, that's the first time. And wow, does it put you in a good frame of mind to get going? That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, good. Thank you. When I started the American Gumption Show back in August, I thought, hey, I want to bring some. I want it to be kind of a variety show, and I want to have maybe little transition themes. And so, anyway, and of course, it's Americano that we're talking about. Although I should tell you, Allan, that I had a last minute thought as I started this brand. Maybe it really needs to be called Global Gumption, because we are all connected throughout the world, but for now, we're calling it American Gumption, even though we're reaching out globally. So,
yeah.
And you're coming to us from a different country, although it is on the North American continent.
Yeah, Vancouver.
That's right, Vancouver, British Columbia. So not too far away. So Western time. Thanks for getting up early this morning to join us.
My pleasure.
So let's, we might as well get the one thing out of the way, this Zen Monk thing. Tell us about that, because that's not like normal stuff that people do. Like one day they go, I think I'll just go become a Zen monk for a couple of years. How did that happen? And, what was the experience? What took you to do that, and what was it like?
Well, I guess it all began when I was about 19. My father died. My mother had cancer, and she was told by the doctor she had 6 months to live, and she lived for about 15 years. So my mother was my first role model of the power of the human spirit. And when my father died, I was in the middle of taking a psychology degree, and I was confused. I knew that I wanted to help people and do something in the world, but I was confused and lost, and decided to travel for a year, which I did. And I had a life-changing experience on the Mediterranean one day where I came that close to dying on the desert. And that was my first real change in my life, where I went from being an atheist to being open-minded to see if there were something more than the rational mind and the physical body. And when I returned home to Montreal, where I was living at the time, I had met these two people in a bookstore who had these calm, clear eyes, and they were living at what was called a Zen meditation center. And they invited me there, and there must have been 20 or 30 people, all with calm, clear eyes. And I said, I want that. I moved in, lived there for 9 years as a Zen monk, and missed women too much, and then left the monastery.
I like the idea that you missed women too much and you thought, okay, it's time to come back out into the real world. But you were there for 9 years, so it wasn't like you just realized you missed women like instantly. You went through obviously a deep transformation during that time period. What was it that kept you there for that 9 years, and what kind of growth were you going through during that time period?
Well, I think when I look back at it, of course, now, given that I train people in how to attain a clear mind within the North American lifestyle, I realize you don't need to be a monk or nun to achieve that so-called enlightened state. But at the time, it was a bit of a refuge. I was on one hand seeking something deeper, which was a positive thing. And I think on the negative side, if you can call it negative, I was kind of running away from the world at large, kind of maybe in an unhealthy way. But living that lifestyle was very disciplined. We meditated 4 times a day. I was the lead chanter. We did a lot of physical work, study, and it was very intense. But I think what kept me there is the experience, the deepening experience of the meditation, especially, provided me the opportunity to experience a deep, calm, clear mind, which is something I always was seeking. But of course, as the years went on, you got used to it, just like being in the army, I guess. But after a while, it took its toll because I realized I wasn't having as much fun as I would like. I felt that I was missing some things in life, and one thing led to the other, and it ended that part of my journey. But what led me there was a lot of good, a lot of peace, a lot of depth of connections with other people that were of like-minded. And because I believe in reincarnation, and probably many lifetimes before had experienced living that kind of lifestyle, I think I was looking to get back to home, so to speak. But having been reborn in the North American context, I realized there was a further learning for me to have by living like a monk.
Take a minute and explain what Eastern philosophies are and how they would differ from Western religions. I was raised, and probably most people that are listening to the show, raised in what we would call Western religions, Christianity probably being predominantly the version that we're familiar with. But then you have Eastern philosophies, and I kind of have my own thinking about what that means, but I'd love to hear how you see the differences between those two ideas and concepts.
Well, I think to me, there's 2 separate issues. There is the spiritual maturity that a person could go through no matter what religion, no matter what spirituality they pursue. To me, everything comes back. Do you love? There's an expression, I think even in the Bible, it says, love God with all your heart and love others as yourself, which implies you love God with all your heart, or love a higher self if you're not religious. Love others as yourself, meaning love yourself unconditionally, and an extension, start loving others. If you love God with all your heart, if you live in that state of a higher self, so to speak, and you're doing what you can to love others, and certainly the one big one, which is often missing in our life, accepting, adoring, and loving ourselves unconditionally. If you have those 3, then it doesn't matter what religion you are. They're just different forms. But I guess the difference between, the reason I pursue it is I wasn't particularly religious. I didn't believe in a God that was living up in the sky. and maybe some people that are practicing religion believe there's a separate entity in that way. I never really bought into that. But within the Zen experience, there's more of a spirituality where we all accepted the fact that there's more to life than our rational mind and physical body. And you and I and all of us share that clear mind. Just like the clouds are always going to come and go. The blue sky is always there. So the Zen zone, I call it the Zen zone. The Zen zone's always there. It's the emotional, psychological crap that gets in the way that keeps us from experiencing that higher self. So I think when you talk about Zen or Buddhism, it's more of a lifestyle and less of a belief in a separate God. I think that's the big difference.
I really liked how you said on your website, and then you repeated it again today, that you met these two gentlemen with clear eyes, and you just said that again, this clear eyes, clear mind. Our Western lifestyle, it doesn't necessarily focus on clarity that way. It focuses on just keep throwing more and more and more and more stuff at us all, day after day. And I loved how you were able to just see that in these two people that you met that day, that fateful day. What's it like when we look into somebody and we can just see that clarity, as opposed to, the busyness that many people are marred in?
Well, it depends who's looking at it. If you're looking at it from someone like myself, who is seeking peace, seeking calmness, seeking concentration and presence of mind, then of course I was drawn to it. People who are running from themselves could be intimidated by it. Yesterday, I noticed somebody who was walking in the hallway right near where I live, a wonderful young lady. I'd never met her before. But when she said hello and I said hello, we were in the elevator together, she kept shuffling around. And I wondered, why is she shuffling around like that? She was obviously nervous. I'm not saying she was nervous because of me, but sometimes when someone looks at someone who's calm and clear, that could be scary, because that person is reflecting back on them, and they see their nervousness and they don't like that. That's why they distract themselves often in the pursuits of activity, people, work, and go. Unless we have a balance of non-action and action, we're going to be in somewhat of we're going to face more problems than we would like in life.
And just to kind of frame things in a way so that your life and the timeline of it, your involvement in the Zen lifestyle and in the monastery as a Zen monk, that happened at the younger portion of your adult life. Is that correct? And then you've gone, and now since then, what you learn from that has been an evolution of your own thinking and clarity and continued requirement. And I know you have a couple books. We'll get to those in just a minute. But is it safe to say that there's never a single moment where everything? Well, there's lots of single moments where things change, but there's never a moment where we achieve complete clarity, because it's just a journey. It's like that timeline of the Forrest Gump movie. It just keeps, you keep evolving and growing as we go out through life.
I believe that to be true, except one thing is that in the Zen language, there's what's called the Kensho experience, the enlightened experience, which we're hoping to achieve when we meditate. And then the light bulb goes on, and we realize in that moment we're aware of massive mind, that's the clear mind that we all have access to. And in that moment, we feel kind of that joy of being in that enlightened, clear state. But then there's the ongoing developing and perfecting of that enlightenment, which of course is a lifetime and beyond journey. However, what I do believe, and I'd like to believe that I'm living that now, is the more you work on yourself, and part of the training program that I've developed is to fast track that, you could get to a point where most of the time you're living in a state of tranquility, inner peace, and mostly inner freedom and self-mastery. so that no matter what happens around you, good or bad, you're able to stay in the zone. That's why the tagline on my book, Mind Gone Wild, is finding freedom within the chaos. And within COVID has just exacerbated the chaos for a lot of people. Yet it also provides the feather that you talked about, the opportunity to decide, am I going to become a victim of the struggles that people are having in life, or am I going to use it to intensify my spirituality, to intensify my ability to love, to intensify my release of wisdom, and live a more and more extraordinary life? I have found for me that, not that I'm happy COVID's here, of course I'm not, but I've enjoyed such grace and wonderful things in my life more during the COVID than any other time in my life. So I'm very grateful for that. But I attribute to that to what you talked about earlier, maintaining that mindset. But I believe it's possible to maintain that mindset most of the time.
Yeah, I've got I want to get to your books, but let's just talk before we do that. Let's just talk a little bit about the meditation, because you had a 9-year experience where you really went in and learned to meditate. I've been on my own journey of self-discovery and learning to meditate for the last, maybe like in some ways for the last 10 years, but the real meditation practice has happened in the last couple of years. And I feel like I'm beginning to, get better at it and break through in a way. And yet at the same time, I feel like I still have a ways to go with it. You trained with some, like we'll call them professional meditators. What can you say about people who are either beginning or, kind of at a novice phase of their meditation lifestyle? What is some of your techniques, or what do you say about meditation?
Well, I mean, there's a lot I could say about meditation, but at the core, one of the reasons when I left living as a monk, I dedicated myself to figuring out a training program that would be very useful, practical, and transformational within our day-to-day North American lifestyle and beyond, is that because I realized that meditation alone wasn't going to do it. When I meditated and I first came out of living as a monk, I really wanted everyone to meditate. So I was very aggressive about sharing it with people, including a dear friend of mine who passed away about 10 years ago. And when I taught her to meditate, I realized she became worse by meditating than non-meditating. And the reason is because she had a lot of anger, unresolved anger inside her. And so I realized quickly that there's more to master. It's about self-mastery more than just meditation. That's why I integrated meditation. The way I teach it now comes up in step 4 of my 9 steps, where I teach people how to get in the Zen zone. And there are many methods to do that. I just give a couple of choices: how to transform negative thinking into positive thinking, how to channel emotions from fear, anxiety, depression, anger into passion and enthusiasm. And as your inner power develops, you've got your lifestyle, you've got your actions, you've got the barriers and busting through the barriers of your obstacles and challenges. You've got step number 2, where you got to let go some negativity from the past. So unless you work on a lot of different things, and I'd like to believe that I put it together in an inner multiple vitamin capsule, so to speak. So it covers all the different points, that as you go through, your meditation is a lot more solid, because your meditation is balanced with the inner healing, with the vision, with the actions, with the busting through the barriers of self-mastery, and then ultimately mastering the art of communication with other people. So when you have a very holistic approach to spiritual holistic living, then meditation plays one role, but it's not the only one.
I'm going to share the screen, Allan, and I want to let people know that your website is listed in the banner below, allanknight.com. And I'm going to, what I'm showing is just a piece of your website, the Zen Zone Mindset, the key to successful relationships. And this is a free program that you're offering to people. If they want to learn more about it, they can just sign up and they can learn about these 9 steps. Is that basically, am I saying that accurately?
Well, the program itself is not free, but if they go to my website and they click on, to go to allanknight.com, they can get access to videos, the 9 steps, so that it explains the 9 steps to them. And anyone who wants to pursue the program can always set up a 45-minute complimentary assessment and evaluation where I help people to see where they're at. Obviously, there's coaching as part of what I do, which is a more expansive 12-week program. And soon to come, some online courses as well will be there soon.
So basically, it's a way to get like an introduction to, there is free information in terms of getting the introduction to what the course is. And if they like that, then they can commit to, learning about the course in a more intimate way.
Yeah, and I'll also throw in one thing for your listeners specifically, Steve, that anybody who goes to my website and signs their name and requests my book, I'll send them a free copy of the book, Mind Gone Wild, the e-copy of Mind Gone Wild.
Oh, great. Very good. Well, I want to go ahead and take advantage of that myself and read it. I wanted to ask about the book and actually your books, because you have 2 books. One is, your first book was a Knight Without Armor, and I like it. Of course, you're Allan Knight, but normally we are, a knight in shining armor, and you are a knight without armor. So we'll talk about that. But also, let me just tease the Mind Gone Wild book, which is your more recent book. And so, how do they? I know they both contain elements of the 9 steps, but which is a good book to start with, and how do they differ from each other?
Well, I'm going to be very transparent with you, Steve, and I'm sorry that I've gotten behind in this, but the Mind Gone Wild is the main book that I've written. The Knight Without Armor, it's almost the same book, but I chose the name of Knight Without Armor, and then 6 months after I chose it, I wasn't happy with it. I didn't like the hat. I didn't feel that the name really gave it the essence of what it was. So I came up with the Mind Gone Wild. The book that's coming out in about a month is called The Soulmate Revolution. The Soulmate Revolution, the difference between the Soulmate Revolution and Mind Gone Wild is that Mind Gone Wild is really mainly for people looking for how to master their mind, how to achieve self-mastery. The Soulmate Revolution, although it gives some of the same practical tips, it's a lot more about the soulmate revolution and about how to attract your soulmate or many soulmates, because I believe we have many soulmates. And so there's a bit more of a focus on relationships in the Soulmate Revolution. That's how I would kind of distinguish between the 2.
Well, that's great, and I appreciate your full transparency and explaining the earlier book. So I think the key thing is that somebody goes to your website today and signs up. Then you're going to send them a link for the ebook of the Mind Gone Wild. Is that
correct? Correct.
Great. Well, that's very generous of you. Thank you. And then your new book, The Soulmate Revolution, comes out in about a month. So now I know we're going to have you back again. I talked about that theme song playing only one time. So when you come back to talk about the Soulmate Revolution, no theme song, but that's okay.
Okay.
If you come back a regular, one of the things we do here on American Gumption Morning Show and with Spirituality Gone Wild, I have a couple of the other co-creators who are coming and doing like a monthly segment, and then we've made their own theme song and intro for them specifically. So we'll see how 2021 develops, and you could be part of the American Gumption Morning Show and your teachings. We'll let that unfold as it's supposed to be. So, well, good.
It would be my pleasure.
Tell us about the Soulmate Revolution. Just give us a little bit of tease. What's going to be in that book?
Well, the Soulmate Revolution to me is my ultimate dream. Ever since I was 19, I was always attracted to the concept of soulmates. I've had the opportunity to meet different soulmates and be with soulmates as I am today. When people often ask me, do we have one soulmate? And my answer always, I believe if soulmates mean having deep heart-centered connections with a person or other people, we have many soulmates. I mean, you could be one of my soulmates. We have friend soulmates, we have business soulmates, we have family soulmates, and we have romantic soulmates and even twin souls. My philosophy is that whatever kind of soulmates we're talking about, the foundation of being able to attract and maintain high quality relationships always starts, as you know, and I know you know this, the quality of the relationship we have with ourselves, which is really, something I go back to my master's degree in counseling psychology. That was always my modus operandi. And so everything you see in the Soulmate Revolution talks about my background, the training industry, and then most importantly, what are those 9 steps to facilitate your ability first to tap into your own inner soulmate, which is really the key. Because if you learn to accept, respect, and adore yourself like your own child and get into the soul connection with yourself, that love, that wisdom, that energy, that vibration will flow out. And 80% of all your communication with other people will already be there for the taking. And that's where you can manifest, and law of attraction really kicks in at a high level. So you become like a walking love machine. And then it's much easier to attract like-minded individuals, many soulmates like I have today, or it could also include the partner that you end up being with for life or for a long time. So that's what the soulmate, my concept was that if I could train as many people as possible in tapping into their own inner soulmate and attracting more soulmates, then if we have one of the reasons I started a certification coaching program is that if we can have hundreds, if not thousands of people teaching the program worldwide, it could have a ripple effect of soulmates coming together in the world, and that's how it could really impact the world. And one of my dreams was to be a soulmate minister, but I have to maybe wait for my next partner to be a soulmate minister with a partner.
Wow. I like this. It really feels to me like you're coming into your life's work and your life's purpose. And I too, I think you alluded to it, but we'll let you change. We'll let you say this isn't true, but we believe in, like we're here in this time and space, in this lifetime. You said that there's incarnations, we come, the soul lives forever, and, we come and join this lifetime, and then we'll depart this lifetime. So in this time and space, your life purpose is this soulmate revolution that you're about to launch.
It's very perceptive of you to say that. It's true, because everything I become, all the healing and personal growth that I've had so far and experience that I've had, even the training work that I've done, has kind of led to this point, because I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm a late bloomer and too much of a procrastinator. But for whatever reason, you can't beat ourselves up for saying, oh, geez, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that faster or better, or become, people used to say to me, how come you're not like Tony Robbins? You have that ability. And I used to beat myself up. And I said, no, at some point, not too long ago, I said, I am who I am. I'm impacting people. My life. I feel great about who I am. I've accepted myself, and I'm very content. And I just joyously do whatever I have to do to make a difference in the world. And it becomes more effortless and easier to do it all the time.
A few years ago, I was going through my own kind of personal awakening and journey, and I remember being introduced to the idea of Saturn's second return, which is a roughly 30-year period. So when you're born, Saturn is somewhere in the celestial movement, and it takes about 30 years for Saturn to return again. And so anyway, I got turned on to the idea that for me, this is the time to also kind of bring out my teaching and my message to the world. And of course, Gumption, and now American Gumption. But it's been an evolution. It's been like, you had to put one piece in place, and that took like a year or two. And so that this like last 10-year journey, it's been like this piece was put in place, this piece was put in place, this next piece. And of course, there was 15 years before that when I just sat on a bench and talked to people. And that experience taught me about soulmates, because there were people who sat down and they, of course, they thought they were, meeting a movie character in real life, but there was like genuine, true love that that just connected and went through. And so even though I didn't know the person, I had the opportunity and the pleasure to connect with people in that just heart-centered love that just went back and forth. And I liked people, so I was at the perfect, I was in the perfect job for me at the time. So the idea of a soulmate doesn't have to be that one person that you spend a lifetime with. It can be many people, and it could be even a soulmate could be just somebody who you pass by and, you just have a little connection. That woman on the elevator, it could have been a very different thing where, maybe you looked at each other with the clear eyes and just had a momentary connection so anyway, this is my thinking.
Your thinking is beautiful because it's very true. I'll never forget, Steve, one thing that sticks out in my mind. Many, many years ago, back when I lived in Montreal, there was a guy named, I think his name was Joe. He's an Italian guy, beautiful guy. He drove his bicycle. Every day I'd see him with his bicycle. And in front of his bicycle, I'd always see about a dozen books. And he was the sweetest man. His eyes were calm, clear also, just like in the Zen experience. And we'd always stop and chat for 5 minutes or so. So one day we're chatting, and I could see behind him, about 20 yards from him, was a guy that I knew who got out of his Mercedes. And the guy who got out, I knew who he was and he knew who I was. And I could see the look on his face where his facial expression was one of disdain. How could I talk with someone as, to that degree, someone who looked like a homeless bum or something like that? And the image of that stood out in my mind. And I asked myself in that moment, who is the really successful one? Is it Joey, who loves to take his books and go from house to house and sells his books, gets new books? And I said to Joey, what do you love about life? He said, I love everything. I feel great. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. And I meet the most incredible people in the world. And then I looked at that frown of the multimillionaire and it said it all. And then I realized the power of the human soul.
Yeah. And who are we to judge and decide what is right for another individual? And that becomes that whole judgment thing, that people get into. So when you get into that judgment thing, you're off-centered, you're not in alignment with yourself because, Joey is just living in pure joy and love, and the other guy is like angry. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, very good. So your soulmate revolution book, and is it a book or a teaching or a course or all of the above?
Well, it's all of the above in the sense that the Soulmate Revolution book is going to serve to be like a workbook for the actual Soulmate training program. And then ultimately, the way I see it unfolding is in two main parts. One is through an online course, we'll train and educate as many people as possible through the Soulmate training so that more and more people get to achieve that high level of tapping into their inner soulmate. But something very fun that I always wanted to achieve as well as part of this is that phase 2 or maybe phase 3 would be the Soulmate Network. That way, once we have enough people going through the program and graduating through the program, they could then meet each other through the network, just like a dating site. The difference is that this dating site, you're meeting like-minded individuals who've already gone through a certain level of personal growth. So the hard connections are more likely, as opposed to meeting people on some of the regular dating sites where half the people might be married men who just want to have sex or something like that. So right. I think it's going to be a welcome kind of network to meet other people. At least that's what my vision is at this point.
Great. Well, that's really in alignment with Spirituality Gone Wild and Debbie G's vision of bringing like-minded people like yourself and myself and Joan of Angels and the 20 other people who are now part of that community. And as we grow in numbers where people want to be part of it, people can come in and learn a little bit about, the Gumption principles. They can learn about, the soulmate principles. They can learn about, all of the different instructors and teachers and people who are in alignment with, the same type of belief in terms of like, how do we want our human experience to be in this time and space? And so it's really quite exciting because, we'll grow from each other. We'll learn from each other. I love the learning that you're teaching me today. And this is fun. So I appreciate it very much that you came on board and you're part of the team, and we're going to, continue the journey together. And I also like your transparency and openness in the fact that, here you are, into this phase of your life where like it's all coming together. And yet you also are like, you're not, like you said, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to work out, but you have that confidence that it is, and you're going forward with it. And that's the best we can do.
Absolutely. Got to be transparent, my friend. Authentic and transparent.
Yeah, I've learned the hard way once or twice in my life that, like kind of creating a facade doesn't always work. I
know that place well.
Well, very good. I got just a minute here. I'll share. I struggled with the idea of being an impersonator. Not while I was doing it so much when I was doing the role as Forrest Gump for those 15 years, but as that came to an end and I wanted to take the Gumption and the Gump experience and somehow use it, but I didn't feel like I knew who myself was. I had kind of, I immersed myself into the character to the point that I kind of, had to rediscover myself. As I did that work, I also realized that I didn't really know who I was before I started that. So it was like easy to be an impersonator for all that time because I had been practicing that, for the first, 35 years of my life when that, opportunity came along. It's just kind of funny as you can look back in hindsight and see some of these things and have a little more clarity. So
you mean, Steve, you mean you were a fraud? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was an impersonator and boy, I was a good one. Yeah. So anyway, well, very good. Well, thanks. This is fun. What's your last words of wisdom, or what would you like to share with the American Gumption audience as we say goodbye?
I would say as we're approaching the new year, especially with COVID, being in the middle of COVID, if there was one thing that I could say that to me is the most important thing is become fed up. Become fed up with mediocrity. Become fed up with not living your true life. Become fed up with being too much of the people pleaser, caregiver. Create your own boundaries, commit to yourself, commit to your truth, and really release the most wonderful qualities you have and make 2021 the real launching pad for making a difference in your life, the people you love, and the world at large. That's my last parting wisdom words.
One of the show's biggest fans is Bettina, and she says, "Love and adoration of self sounds good to me." And that's really what you're talking about. As we get more connected with ourselves, and maybe it starts with self-forgiveness first, and then it goes into self-love. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So if 2020 could have been a year of being fed up with, as you said, that we step across that boundary into the next realm, that'll be pretty awesome time then, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And I want to thank you so much for having me. It's been fantastic. And one last thing I want to say, if it's okay, is that anybody that's listening to this that has a dream of becoming a coach but doesn't have a coaching program, one of my main focuses right now is training people and becoming a certified coach of the 9-step program. So certainly reach out to me at any time to see if that's a fit for you.
Yep, that's great. And I think that's going to be something that your offer within the Spirituality Gone Wild community will be really valuable because, there's there's all like-minded people, but what is it that people want to teach? And you have something ready to go. So the first step would be for them to jump in and figure out what it is you're teaching, and then find out if that resonates for them. So,
yes, sir.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Allan. We will have you back again. I look forward to the next time that we meet. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your holiday season, Christmas, the new year, and we'll see you back here in 2021. How's that sound?
Yeah, and congratulations on all the great work that you do. Really appreciate it, and look forward to getting to know you and sharing together more and more.
Great. Well, thank you, Allan. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
All righty. Well, that was Allan Knight, and his website's still listed below, allanknight.com. Go ahead and check him out and sign up so that you can get the free Mind Gone Wild ebook, or at least the PDF, or however it's going to arrive in your mailbox. And then also you'll learn about you'll have some videos that will tell you about the 9 steps, and you can decide if that program is something. And who knows, you might it might really resonate with you, and you might want to take his certification program and become part of his teachings, and be one of the teachers of this program. All righty. Well, that's it for us, everybody. We sure do thank you for joining us this week. It's been a great week. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Let me just tell you that Monday, Joe Lair is going to join us, and Joe has the story Front Yard, Backyard, and it's very personal for me because that story hit home. And I realized, here's the teaser, I realized that my front yard looked great, but my backyard was a bit of a mess. All righty. Tune in Monday for that. On Tuesday, Shaman Isabella returns. We're going to have some fun conversations because she opened up a whole lot of ideas that we didn't have time to explore. So we'll go back in deep. She joined us about 2 weeks ago. She joins us next Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Nikki Roscoe will join us from the UK. She's been on the show several times, so I look forward to Nikki's return on Wednesday. And then not sure if we're doing a show on Thursday, but we'll be here the week after that for sure. So I'll let you know what happens with our schedule as we get closer to Christmas itself. All righty, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I will see you on Monday for Front Yard, Backyard with Joe Lair.